I don't know. It's a little weird when other people are talking about other people when they're not that person. So if we need to get scrappy, we can get scrappy too. Just saying. I'd appreciate if you kept my name out your mouth. That's what I'd say.
The Miami Dolphins have a lot of hype heading into the 2023 season, largely due to the steps they took last season as a team and another offseason of multiple nice additions. However, many people, including myself, believe their success this year comes down to one player, and that's Tua Tagovailoa, and so far in training camp, he looks to be checking all the boxes ahead of his 4th season. Today's sponsor is Factor, and when they reached out to me, I was super excited to work with them. I just moved into a new apartment, my college classes are starting up again, and I don't have a ton of time to make healthy but good tasting meals with all that I have to balance in my day-to-day life. And that's where Factor comes into play. They ship a box of anywhere from 6 to 18 fresh but never frozen meals to your doorstep that's already prepared and can be made in just a couple of minutes. I was actually super impressed with the packaging and how they keep all the meals cold through the delivery process. There's multiple ice packs with some ventilation, and the food arrived to me in perfect condition. It's truly as easy as it sounds. You vent the outside film, warm it up in the microwave for 2 minutes or even the oven if you prefer that, and it's ready to go. A personal favorite was the shredded chicken taco bowl, but they had multiple different options you could pick from. But in my case, I had just finished a workout and didn't want to spend an hour cooking something, but on the other hand, I also wanted something calorie conscious and high in protein. So Factor made that really easy to achieve, and it's personally going to take my fitness goals to a whole nother level. If you're interested, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code MathisNFL50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Again, that's code MathisNFL50 for 50% off your first Factor box by clicking the link on the screen or in the description. I'd like to say thank you again to Factor for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to Tua and the Miami Dolphins. Now, I've said it many times on the channel, but 2022 was a tale of two halves for the team in South Florida. They started off the year 8-3 and looked like one of the most electrifying offenses we had seen in quite some time. The combination of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the outside looked unstoppable. Tua was playing at an MVP level. He had 19 touchdowns to only 3 picks through 12 weeks. And the Dolphins were getting serious consideration of being a legit Super Bowl contender. But what presumed as the team headed into December was basically the complete opposite of how the season started. They would lose 5 straight games, including a couple of really bad performances in the national spotlight in back-to-back weeks on the West Coast. The first one came against the 49ers and then the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, and that's when things really began to spiral. Tua unfortunately would suffer his second officially documented concussion in week 16 against the Packers, and it felt right at that moment that the Dolphins season was basically over. To give them a little bit of credit, they did rally behind third-string rookie quarterback Skylar Thompson in the last week of the season against the New York Jets, finishing 9-8 and clinching themselves a playoff spot for the first time since 2016. And going into that playoff game against their division rival, the Buffalo Bills, there was absolutely no expectations for the Dolphins to go into Highmark Stadium and compete with one of the best teams in the league. For reference, Vegas set the line at -14 for the Bills, which was one of the biggest spreads for a playoff game in NFL history. So that should tell you a little bit about how the public thought this game would go. But again, despite all the adversity the Dolphins had faced in the past 2 months leading up to that game, they gave the Bills everything that they could handle. Their 7th-round rookie quarterback possessed the ball at around midfield with under 2 minutes to go, only needing a field goal to send the game to overtime. But in the end, the Bills defense would hold on and squeak out the victory 34-31. But I do think that game again changed how people view the Dolphins' 2022 season in totality. I mean, when they got off to such a hot start, a lot of people were calling them one of the best teams in the league. But then when they got ice cold down the stretch, those same people would begin to say they just caught lightning in a bottle. I think the way they played in that playoff game combined with all that was working against them made people say, hey, this is a good football team. But what I like is the Dolphins organization didn't stand pat and run back the same roster. You see that with many teams across all professional sports where they take a step as a team and instead of continuing to build, they get complacent. That's not what the Dolphins did though. They saw their issues they had a year ago as a team and they made proper adjustments, starting with multiple new key additions on defense. Their biggest one being Jalen Ramsey, who they traded for from the Rams for a bag of peanuts. He unfortunately got hurt in day 2 of training camp, but the belief is he will be back sometime this season. It's just a matter of when. But the most important move, in my opinion, was hiring Vic Fangio, the longtime defensive coordinator and former Broncos head coach, to be their new guy in charge of that side of the ball. In Fangio's last 11 seasons of being a defensive coordinator, 8 of them ended the year as a top 10 scoring unit. So the expectations for Miami's defense next year is simple. simple. The bar is to be a top 10 defense, and I think they have more than enough talent to do so. To quickly sum up some of their other moves on defense that aren't talked about a ton, they also signed David Long Jr. from the Tennessee Titans, who is one of the most underrated linebackers in the league. They brought in a lot of nice depth, especially in their secondary with Deshaun Elliott, the former Lion, Cam Smith from South Carolina, their second-round pick, and even longtime vet Eli Apple, who I know a lot of people make jokes about, but he could be a solid option for them while they wait for Ramsey to return. So with some of these key additions and the defense returning all of their core players from last year, I think they will be much better than the 24th scoring defense from 2022. But now turning things over to the offense, the Dolphins relatively kept the same unit. There's a couple of new faces like Braxton Berrios and Robbie Chosen, bringing them some more depth at their wide receiver position, and a couple of vets on their offensive line to help with depth like Isaiah Wynn and Dan Feeney. But all their key contributors from last year are back, and I think that cohesiveness was on full display during training camp. Naturally, Tua Tagovailoa is a very polarizing player, but it felt like every day of Dolphins camp I saw a couple of highlight throws Tua made in 11-on-11s or even in specific drills. The connection to Tyreek Hill seems to be picking up where left off, as through camp they've had multiple touchdowns and deep passes. I saw some no-look passes which have become popularized in the past couple of years, which were pretty cool to see, and head coach Mike McDaniel has continued to rave about him all offseason. He said earlier this summer that Tua is doing great. He's had a really good offseason with his family and training and positioning himself to feel good moving forward. He's very healthy, vibrant, and I can see a hunger in him that I'm excited to watch play out this season. Just a couple days ago, McDaniel also said he's taken his nutrition to another level. He's taken his commitment to what he's trying to do and really thought outside the box and really worked at it. So I couldn't be happier with the work that he's put in, and that's what I've actually viewed from my own eyes, basically. He continued and said, "You're happy for guys as a coach when you can see in the present that down the road they're gonna have no regrets, meaning the results are what the results are. But you know that without any shade of gray that you've put your best foot forward," and he really has. And I think his teammates would agree we're getting the absolute best version of Tua that's existed. So his performance in camp this summer has been really encouraging, and I think everyone a part of the Dolphins is excited to see him build off of his tremendous season a year ago. But ultimately, the success for Tua and the Dolphins this year is keeping him healthy. If he can stay upright and play in every game, I can't see many teams being better than them. And to Tua's credit, he has done his job to ensure he is available this season. He put on over 10 pounds of muscle, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu training all off season to help him protect himself. But even outside of Tua, why I'm so encouraged with this team is the roster talent and coaching staff that they have. I think they go hand in hand, and it paves the way for them to do really special things. And what's even crazier is they may not even be done making huge moves. Star running back Jonathan Taylor to the Dolphins has been picking up a lot of steam the last couple of days, and giving Tua and this offense one of the best running backs and playmakers in the league would only make them more lethal. It was honestly super surprising when the report came out that the Colts would let Taylor seek a trade, because just a couple weeks ago Jim Irsay, their owner, had a huge blow up on social media basically saying that he will never trade him. So you get to where we are now, where the Dolphins and Colts are reportedly talking and are in negotiations for a trade revolving around Taylor. Things are getting super interesting as we head into the season. But regardless of the Dolphins do end up acquiring Jonathan Taylor or not, Tua is still the X factor for their entire season, and I am optimistic he will be able to stay healthy this year and have the Dolphins in the thick of things come January. But let me know what you think about Tua Tagovailoa and how many yards you think he will pass for next season, and also let me know how many games you think the Dolphins will win. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.